So you have a little extra cash after paying your bills, which is awesome, by the way, because most people are still living paycheck to paycheck with the average savings rate in America barely scratching 4%. Now you're faced with a decision. Should you crush your student loans early or invest that money instead? Well, in this video, I'll break down how your student loan payments really work, what the math says about investing, and the emotional side of carrying debt, so you'll walk away confident about what to do next. Now, before we dive in, we need to understand how student loans work because most people don't. When you make your monthly payment, it's not being deducted from your loan balance, thanks to something called amortization. So let's say you owe $30,000 on your student loans. You have a 10-year plan, which is pretty standard, at a 6% interest rate. Your payment's going to be about $333 per month. Now, the thing is, take a look at each payment. You would think that this entire payment will go towards deducting the entire balance, but it doesn't. There are two components here. You have the principal payment, which is the money that you borrowed, the money that you have to pay back, but you also have this interest component, and this is the fee that you're paying for borrowing the money in the first place. Now, after 10 years, you'll have spent around $10,000 in interest alone, or $40,000 in total. Now, if the interest rate, for example, was 12%, $21,000 in interest, or $50,000 in total payments. That is almost double the original loan amount. Pretty crazy, right? This is why it's essential to understand amortization, as it illustrates the true cost of debt. Now, what if you put just $100 extra each month towards the principal only? Well, you'd pay off your loan almost 3 years early and save about $3,000 in interest. That is the power of making extra principal payments. It shortens your debt sentence and keeps more of your money in your pocket. So now you understand how loans can quietly drain your money. But what if there's a smarter way to put that money to work for you instead of your lender? Let's flip the script here. When you invest in the stock market, you earn money on two things: the money you put in and the interest it earns. That's called compound growth. Think of it like experience points in an RPG. At first, you only level up from the quests you complete, but eventually, obtaining passive buffs and skills starts generating more XP on their own, and the higher level you are, the more XP you earn without having to grind as hard. For example, historically, the US stock market has returned around 10% annually before inflation, about 7% adjusting for it. So investing $500 per month for 30 years with a 7% average rate of return gets you about $600,000. As you can see here, this blue line represents the money that you're investing, which totals around $200,000. Meanwhile, this green line is the compound interest. This is your money making you money, and as you can see, this totals to around $400,000. TLDR, your $200,000 made you $400,000. That's your money making money over time. Compare that to simply saving it in a bank account, you'd have around $200,000. That is the magic of compound interest. It's not linear, it's exponential. But before you get too hyped, let's be clear. That 10% average annual return from the stock market is an average over a decade. It's not guaranteed, and you won't see that every year, unfortunately. Some years in the past were brutal. Like in 2008, during the financial crisis, the S&P dropped nearly 37%. More recently, in 2022, it was down around 18%. So while long-term investing can be incredibly rewarding, it does come with short-term volatility. So investing clearly has upside, but also risk. Now let's put these two head to head. What happens if you invest the extra money instead of paying off the debt faster? This is where a strategy called debt arbitrage comes into play. Instead of putting extra money towards your student loan, you invest that same amount and try to earn a higher return than what you're paying in interest. So using the example from earlier, you have a $30,000 student loan at a 6% interest rate, and you were planning on throwing an extra $100 a month at the loan. We know you would save around $3,000 in interest and pay it off about 3 years early. But what if you invest that $100 instead? Well, after 10 years, assuming a 7% annual return, you'd have around $17,000. Compare that to the $3,000 you would have saved in interest, that's a potential gain of $14,000, more than 4 times the benefit. But again, the key word here is potential. On paper, investing looks like the smarter move. However, the stock market is volatile, especially in the short term, and specifically if you choose high-risk investments. Furthermore, this isn't just about the math. Debt carries real psychological weight. Research from the University of Georgia found that student loan debt is directly linked to increased anxiety, depression, and even suicidal thoughts. The emotional toll can be just as real as the financial one. So for many, eliminating that burden isn't just about saving money, it's about regaining peace of mind. So now you've seen both sides. One gives you guaranteed peace of mind, and the other gives you a shot at building more wealth over the long term, at the cost of some risk. Now at this point, you're probably saying something like, come on man, just tell me which option to choose. While there's no one-size-fits-all answer, here's how I would make my decision. When I was deciding what to do, I chose to pay off my car loan early, even though the interest rate wasn't super high. Why? Because the peace of mind I got from being debt-free was worth more to me than any potential investment return. If I hate debt and I value peace of mind, I would absolutely pay off the debt early, even if it's a low interest rate like 4%. Conversely, if I'm comfortable with short-term volatility, can stick to a long-term plan, want to maximize my net worth over time, and have an interest rate no higher than 6%, I would continue making minimum payments on the loan and invest my extra cash. If you're somewhere in the middle, you don't have to choose just one. You can split your extra money, 50 towards the loan and 50 towards investing. Ultimately, the best decision is one that helps you sleep at night and stay consistent long-term. Now, if you're leaning towards crushing those student loans, here are some proven strategies to pay them off faster and save more money in the process. Number one is the most obvious option, and that's making additional payments. But ensure that it gets applied to the principal only, not future payments. Remember, there are two components to each payment: principal, the money you owe, and interest, the fee for borrowing. Number two, the option most people are unaware of, and that's switching to bi-weekly payments. Using the same $30,000 loan example, your normal monthly payment is $333, nothing fancy. But instead of paying that once a month, you split it in half and pay $166.50 every 2 weeks. Doesn't sound like a big difference, right? Well, because there are 52 weeks in a year, that means you'll end up making 26 half payments or 13 full payments per year. TLDR, you're making one extra payment every year without really feeling like it. Now, instead of paying off the loan in 10 years, you'd finish in under 9 years. You'd also save over $1,400 in interest. So if you're looking for a simple, automated way to speed things up, this is it. Number three, refinancing to lower your interest rate. So back to this example one more time. We're paying $333 per month and we'll pay about 10 grand after 10 years. But if we refinance to a 4% rate, for example, now our monthly payment is $303 and we're paying $6,500 in interest. That's like $3,000 in savings. And assuming this loan starts this month, we can expect to have it paid off by July 4th, 2035. But if we take that extra $30 we're saving each month from refinancing, remember we paid $333 initially, now we're paying about $303, we shave off about a year. And not only that, we'll also save some more on interest. But remember, we want this payment, this extra payment, to be applied to the principal, not an extra payment, not next month's payment. Now, all that sounds amazing, right? But there are two issues. When you refinance a federal student loan into a private one, you're giving up some powerful benefits. And once you give them up, you can't get them back. For example, you lose access to income-based repayment plans that adjust your monthly payment based on your income. You'll also lose eligibility for loan forgiveness programs like public service loan forgiveness, teacher forgiveness, or even discharge due to disability. And during tough times, federal loans let you pause payments through deferred or forbearance. Private loans, on the other hand, are not so forgiving. So before you refinance, make sure you're not trading short-term savings for long-term regret. The last thing I want to mention is that interest rates are quite high right now, making this option potentially unviable. If you're still paralyzed by this decision, understand that they are both great options. The sooner you take action, the better. But if you choose to invest, watch this video to learn how I would invest as a self-made millionaire.